Hello everyone, this is Brian here. Today I'm going to teach you how to enter a program into your TI-8x calculator. I'm going to use a simple quadratic formula program to demonstrate this. Now if you have a link cable and the TI-Link software, it is much easier to just write your program on your computer and send it to your calculator. I will show you how to do that at a later time. But for now, this is the method that will be used if you do not have your TI-Link cable. It's important to note that this can get extremely cumbersome and very, very simple to make a mistake. So you really do want to find or obtain a TI-Link cable for more complex programs. So the first thing you're going to do is hit the Program or PRGM button. And you're going to go over to New and select Create New. We are going to name this. So when you see the A in the cursor, that means that it's in alpha mode. Alpha mode means that you're going to be able to use these green symbols above each of the buttons by pressing that button. I generally like to name my programs short, simple, and related to what they do, so we're going to call this guy Quad. Q-U-A-D. And we're going to press Enter. Now you're at the program entry screen. The first thing we need to do is ask the user for the values of A, B, and C. To do that, you go to Program, over to I/O, which is Input/Output, and you're going to select Prompt. Now you're going to say A, comma, B. Excuse me. Now if you fail to hit alpha and you get sent to another menu, very simple to fix, just hit clear. That's what I mean by it's cumbersome to type these into the calculator. It's very easy to make a mistake. Then you're going to press Enter. Now when you press Enter, that tells the calculator that that instruction is done, and it's going to move down to the next instruction. Now, because I don't feel like typing b squared minus 4ac several times, and the discriminant doesn't change between the calculation of the two roots of the quadratic, I'm going to go ahead and calculate and store that, and this just allows me to simplify typing in the rest of it. So my rule of thumb is if it's more than 3 characters and it doesn't change throughout any of the calculations, I'm going to go ahead and just pre-store it. So we calculate the discriminant by getting b squared minus 4 times a times c. Once again, if you make a mistake, very simply hit clear. Now, we have to put this somewhere so we could use it later, so you're going to hit the STO, or Store button, and we're going to put it into D. Now I'm going to calculate the first root, so negative b plus the square root of the discriminant divided by 2 times a. And we're going to store that as x. We're going to calculate the other root, so negative b minus the square root of the discriminant divided by 2 times a. And we're going to store that as y. Now it's important when you're doing types of division and things like that you properly enclose your numerators and denominators in parentheses. If you don't do that, the calculator will just say negative b plus the square root of the discriminant divided by 2 times a, as opposed to the quantity of negative b plus the square root of the discriminant divided by the quantity of 2a. The other thing that's important is when you open a parenthesis, you must close a parenthesis, and make sure you close it where you intend to. You can see where this nests it because the square root function opens a parenthesis as well. This is just a very easy place to make a mistake. Try to avoid making said mistake. Now we're going to move on to the vertex. So I'm going to calculate the x value at the vertex and store it as h, so negative b divided by quantity of 2 times a, and store it as h. Now we're going to get the f of h, or the y value, whatever you want to call it, by plugging h back into the original quadratic that we had. So a times the quantity of h squared. Once again, if you make a mistake, just back up and try again. Times h plus c. We're going to store that as k. Alright, so we've entered the calculation portion of the program. Now, if you were to go back into your calculator and run this, it would store all the values in memory, but I always like to actually show some outputs to the user. It's very useful. So we're going to program, and then over to I/O, and then option 3 is display. Now you could just display the values, but I actually like to show the user some kind of hint of what they're looking at, label it. You do that by displaying a string first. A string is any characters enclosed in quotation marks, and the calculator won't try to do math on a string. So you're going to go into alpha lock, which is second alpha. This lets you type your string quickly. Open a quotation mark. Type in roots, or whatever you want to label this as. Close it. Get out of alpha lock, comma. Then the first value I'm going to show is x. And the second value I'm going to show is y. Now I'm going to do the same thing for my h and my k. I'm just batting 1,000 today. You can see it's very easy to make mistakes, like I had said before. This is just a kind of cumbersome process. I'm going to say this is the worst way to put a program into your calculator. Anything more than 6 or 7 lines of code, it's just really difficult to edit and debug. So for now, I want you to make sure that your calculator screen looks exactly like mine. If you've made any mistakes, now would be the time to correct them. I'm going to hit enter one last time. And we're going to go to second quit. Your program is saved automatically. So we're going to test it by hitting the program button. And this first tab, which is for executing, we're going to execute quad. I'm going to hit enter again. It's going to ask us for A, B, C. And you'll see where it's going to give you the roots and the coordinates of the vertex. Now, another cool thing you can do with this, once you run the program through once, is you can actually set it up so it plots or sketches the graph for you, and it changes automatically as you run the program with different quadratics. So we're going to go to A, variable x squared, plus b, x, plus c. When we pull up the graph, we're going to get the graph of the quadratic that we entered into the quadratic formula solver that we've programmed previously. Now we can go back to our home screen, run it again with a different quadratic. We're going to say 1, 2, 6. It doesn't matter, I'm just giving it randoms. Now you get this error non-real answers. When this happens, this means that your calculator is not set up to display complex numbers. Sometimes you want this, but in general, I like to keep my calculator set to be able to display complex numbers. To do that, you go to Mode, and you go down to a+bi, and press Enter. And now if we run it again with the same 1, 2, 6 input, you'll get your complex number roots and the coordinates of your vertex. And if you click Graph, that's going to be a little high up, so it's probably just going to be hanging out up here. Yep. You're going to get your parabola. So we can do it one more time just to show you. -1, 6, -2. There you go. So I hope this has been a great help for you all. If you have any questions, please post on the Hangout or in the comments section below.